Welcome back to Checkered Flag on C7 Sport. This week we're coming to you from Sydney's Eastern Creek International Karting Raceway. There's the result for the pre-final in Intercontinental A. It was Barclay Holden, Hynuk, Jonathan Reed, Brendan May, Tim Macro, Jason Burns, Daniel Elliott, Wade Cunningham, Bart Price and Regan Payne. The information you're now looking at also doubles as the starting grid for the all-important final in the APS Racing Intercontinental A, which now comes your way at Eastern Creek Raceway. 35 and also 45 sharing the front row of the grid. Best to begin was Barclay Holden, who did dominate the pre-final as they race through the first left-hander. Have a look at them, will you? They look like an angry swarm of bumblebees. They're all over the place. There's 36 going off the racetrack. It's Daniel Elliott, and he will be devastated about that. One of the top young drivers in the sport. Another look at it with my special guest co-commentator this week, Alan Gurr.
Yeah, it's really unfortunate for Daniel. He's usually right up the front, and to end his race so soon is just real pity.
Yeah, he'll be really twisted about that, you can be assured. Focus our attention up front. Good race. They're running nose to tail. With the exception of Elliott, everyone managed to stay out of harm's way early in this event. Barclay Holden driving an Azuru kart, Vega tyres. He's a Queenslander and has probably opened up a gap of a couple of metres at this early stage of proceedings. 45 a second, Jason Hynuk. And he in a Haas chassis kart, another New South Welshman.
Yeah, we had pretty close to the top 10. They're still nose to tail. And Brendan May just drops the wheel off. Not real good to do in the start of a lady.
Intercontinental A class, very, very competitive. The karts, as was the case with the juniors, using open compound tyres. Running at the international minimum racing weight of 140 kilograms, which is the driver and kart combined. 100cc Reed valve engines, developing similar power to Formula A. So it makes them mighty exciting to drive.
Yeah, a lot of acceleration comes from these karts, and then, again, a lot of G-force is created through the turns, as they are in all the FNK and CIK classes. We have there Barclay Holden taking a 2-kart length gap over Jason, and Brendan May, who's been impressive all year, sitting there in third.
And an impressive drive by May in this race, bearing in mind he did start from position number 6 on the grid. Not slouches ahead of him, so he's done a good job to get up on equal terms with them early in this race. A little bit of cloud cover now over Eastern Creek International Karting Raceway, but still ideal conditions for this type of racing.
Yeah, when the track cools down, it usually is a little quicker, providing it's not early in the morning. So the lap times should be reasonably fast, and whoever's picked the weather right will be quick.
Brendan May is the current APS Kart Racing Series leader in this class, approaching the third round at Eastern Creek this weekend, 118 points, followed by Barclay Holden on 91 points. They're still close enough for anything to happen in this championship chase. Then it was Daniel Elliott in third and Tim Macro and Jason Hynuk on 72. So really the top 5 drivers fairly close together in terms of the points chase.
Yeah, which makes a good series. You don't want someone streaking out ahead on points and making it kind of predictable. And coming to each round, you don't know who's going to come out in front. Barclay Holden, who's in front at the moment, is doing well in the series. And last year he won it this round. And again, I think he's trying to do it this year.
The Zuru karts driver, Barclay Holden, that was him blasting past our camera. Now approach the left-hander. Good track. There has been some changes to the configuration of the circuit for this year's event compared to last, hasn't there?
Yeah, there has. The circuit used to go down the back straight, which had a little sort of chicane in it, and went down to McDonald's. But now it goes back up the hill and into a carousel and back down again.
You mean it went down in the direction of where McDonald's is located? It didn't physically go to McDonald's?
No, it didn't actually.
What, do they all go through the drive-thru?
Yeah, well, I know a lot of them probably would, but no, McDonald's corner.
Beautiful. Well said. I'm only mucking around.
That's all right.
Good battle here. The top 4 drivers so close together on the circuit, you could almost throw a tally-ho paper over them.
We have Jonathan Reed in the Cosmic Kart. He's all the way from New Zealand. He's running really well this meeting. He's right up there. He started a fair way back in the pre-final and worked his way through to start up the front for the final.
Barclay Holden, still the race leader. Here's a go now. Nipping up on the inside is Jonathan Reed. Another look at that.
Yeah, he set him up perfectly. He went wide going into that kink into the first turn. and then got back underneath Brendan for the next one and left him wide.
So Brendan May bumped back a spot, and now he is going to field the challenge of another driver in Tim Macro. So he's having a torrid drive out this afternoon, May. After starting from Posse 6, he's certainly going to know he's been in a race when this is over.
Oh yeah, he'd want to keep his championship hopes alive and try and stay as far up the front as he can. So he'll be trying to keep everyone behind him for as long as possible.
The little carts screaming around Eastern Creek, round 3 of the APS Kart Racing Series. Still ahead on today's program, all the action in the Formula A, the thoroughbred elite class of karting in this country.
Tim Macro there is really putting Brendan May under a lot of pressure, and he's just trying to force him into a mistake, as Jonathan Reed did.
You miss karting? I know you're driving in the Super Touring Championship now on a Ford Mondeo, but it doesn't get as close as this. Let's be fair to him about it. This is really serious motorsport.
If you want good close racing, karting's the place to go. There's nowhere that you can get the breeding ground for good racing and the knowledge of how to race and being clean and setting people up from the moves. It's just brilliant. You see Brendan May pointing ahead. I think he's trying to get Macro off his back a bit. So let's try and chase him.
Another driver coming into the equation here. There he is now in the predominantly white kart, number 20. It's Wade Cunningham from New Zealand. As he's showing, there's no pulling the wool over his eyes either.
No, not at all.
Very much on the pace.
Yeah, he's been good all weekend, and I think he's trying to make sure he beats Jonathan Reed. I think they come out to Australia and go back and say who beat who, but they're both running up in front, which shows the competitiveness of the New Zealanders.
There he is, Cunningham, going ballistic, throwing everything at this race. He's applying all sorts of pressure to Tim Macro, and he's running Bridgestone tyres, by the way, the New Zealander, which makes him a little unique in the top 6 or 7 of this race at the moment.
Yeah, he's doing really well to be on Bridgestones and a long way up the front there. I think he's the first Bridgestone driver, so it's really showing that the tyre can do it, and if you have the right setup, you will be up the front.
Jonathan Reed, another New Zealander in this event, in kart 33. We caught a shot of him a moment or two ago, and he also on Bridgestone rubber. So there is a good spread of rubber on display here.
You can see Regan Payne there in the PCR chassis. He ran second or third last year in the series, and so he's no stranger to the CIK rounds, and he's doing quite well.
There's Jason Burns and Chris Gilmore. Gilmore, a Queenslander. Burns, a New South Welshman. They're going hard at it. So there's plenty of action, lots of equations in terms of the point score, or the points to be taken away from this race.
You see Gilmore there, he's pretty close to Burns. I think he's pulled him back a bit. Jason Burns has swapped chassis for this meeting to BRM, and straight away he's on the pace, and he's got it handling quite well, so he'll be one to watch in the rest of the year.
Looks to be a fairly physical track, Alan. A lot of arm movement, and the sort of track that provides drivers with a bit of everything.
Yeah, well, you don't get a real time to rest. You have to make sure the cart's set up spot on, because you've got high speed corners, you've got low speed corners, and you also have to be very physically fit, because it does knock you around, and you get to the end of the race and you can really start to feel it.
This is the battle for the lead. You're watching now Barclay Holden, the Queenslander, out in front in the Azuru entry, and he's being worked over all the time by Jason Hynuk, New South Welshman, driving for the Haas team, courtesy of Stevens and Kart Services, and they've cleared out now.
Yeah, you can see Jason is really putting the pressure onto Barclay. He's got that Haas kart working very well this year, and I think the whole Haas team himself should be really happy with the season so far.
Holden on Vega tyres. The other driver, Hynuk, on Bridgestones. So they're all getting amongst it here.
Well, it's good to see that they are a mix of karts and tyres all the way up the front. Barclay looks like he's just playing a few games with Jason, and so it pulls away and comes back again. But I'm sure that he knows he's still there, and he's definitely sweating under there.
Speaking of karting, a quick mention for the Performance Racing Industry Trade Show coming up at Queensland at the Brisbane Convention Centre on September 15, 16 and 17. A lot of kart manufacturers, engine builders, retailers will have their wares on display, and we'll be there too. Checkered flag, come along and say hello. We'll actually be doing a program from the PRI show and interviewing a lot of the big stars in national motor racing covering all areas. Karting, super touring, V8 supercar, speedway, drag racing. They'll all be there. So that program comes your way in a few weeks from now. This battle continues meantime in the APS Racing Intercontinental A final, with Barclay Holden still at the pointy end of the pack.
You can see Jonathan Reed there. It seems to me he's catching the front two. I don't know whether it's because they're dicing or holding each other up, but I think his packages seem to come on right at the end of the race, and it'll be interesting to see if he can catch and pass the front two.
Nothing between them. They did dominate the pre-final and subsequently started positions 1 and 2 on the grid in this event. So again, the pre-final form has been a very accurate reflection of how we can expect them to fare in the big race.
Yeah, the pre-final is where you want to do most of your final fine-tuning work for the final, because if you don't get it right in that, you're going to be starting at the back of the grid, and it's generally a long way from last to first over this sort of sprint race.
You may have just joined us this week on Checkered Flag. You're watching round 3 in the lucrative APS Kart Racing Series. And the action today at Sydney's Eastern Creek International Karting Raceway. This is the battle for first and second, featuring Barclay Holden, Queenslander, in Kart 35. And right behind him, Jason Hynute, the New South Welshman. It's been like this from the moment they said go in this race.
Yeah, Jason looks quite comfortable sitting there in second. I think he's just trying to set up Barclay, try and force him into a slight error. But I think Barclay's handling the pressure really well, and he's going to try and make sure that he stays in front the whole way.
Been a great innovation in this series for the national karting scene, hasn't it?
Oh, for sure. I mean, the karting has taken off the last few years, and it's given drivers a higher profile, and having it on TV makes it even better for the spectators and the drivers themselves.
Now, Hynute, as we watch him come up the inside, we've got a change of lead here. At long last, our leader, Barclay Holden, has surrendered to the challenge.
Yeah, you can see he set him up. He came out of that chicane quite well, just like Nick Simmons did in the race before, and dived down into the turn and left Barclay sort of out in the marbles a little.
I guess the big question now is, can Barclay Holden respond? He finds himself bumped back to second. And the good news is, here's another driver entering the equation. It's Jonathan Reed, the New Zealander, in Kart 33.
Jonathan Reed is definitely looking dangerous for a win here. I think Barclay should maybe have to worry a little bit about third place behind him there, because all his attention is on Jason, and doing that, he may leave the door open for Jonathan.
Fabulous motorsport. They run nose to tail. Here's a chance up the inside, and he's done it. Once again, Barclay Holden reassumes control in this race.
He did to Barclay, and he's out to catch him once again and try and get into that lead and hold it.
Great scrap. Holden is your leader. And of course, reminding you that Brendan May was the series leader heading into the third round of the championship this weekend. And at the moment, he's not figuring prominently in this race at all. So it's certainly going to make the championship much closer heading into the fourth and final round. And Barclay Holden, given the fact that he was second going into the championship, this is exactly what he needs to put a big dent in the lead of Brendan May. Yeah,
well, if he wins this race, and Brendan seems to have dropped back through the field, which is unfortunate, it'll definitely close up the points chase for the lead.
Nothing to choose between these three drivers. Laps winding down the APS Racing Intercontinental A final.
See Jonathan Reed there trying to set Jason up, go wide and then tuck back on the inside, but Jason was smart enough to not leave the door open for him, and he's still in hot pursuit for Barclay Holden.
Interesting point here, just an observation. I guess the more mature drivers on display now versus the junior Intercontinental A we saw before. Despite the intensity of this battle, you don't see any of them looking around very much.
No, I mean, you get the juniors a little less experience than the senior boys, but you do notice that they don't look around quite as much. I think they're focused on what the job is ahead, not what was behind.
And that's good advice, surely, for any young driver in any form of motorsport. Concentrate on the road ahead. Just as we say it, Holden can't stop looking around. He's getting nervous, and that's because the last lap is approaching in this final. Round 3 APS Kart Racing Series. This is going to be an absolute thriller.
Really close going in this top corner. I think Jonathan Reed might get Jason Heinrich. There's a bit of biff there, and you can see the panel damage on Jonathan Reed's car, but he didn't pull it off.
Holding the lead up. Plainute in second. Have a look at the New Zealander, Jonathan Reed. He's using all of the road and then some more. No doubt about it. He deserves that victory, Barclay Holden. And isn't he happy about it? Smiling like a carpet snake in a foul house beneath the visor. And we're going to recap them for you now. It was Barclay Holden, Jason Heinrich, Jonathan Reed, Tim Macro, Wade Cunningham, Brendan May, Bart Price, Chris Gilmore, Jason Burns, Jade Hogan, Regan Payne, Paul Williams and Michael Patrizzi, as we now hear from our winning driver, and won't he be wrapped?
Third round of the ICA Championships for season 2000 in the 2000 APS Racing Series, and the man who won here at Eastern Creek for the final round of the 99 season's back on the top step, but doesn't look like it was as easy as it was last year.
Definitely not. Last year I seemed to be able to get away a fair bit easier than this year. This year Jason was all over me all race, and he even got past me at one stage there. Managed to get him back and hold on for the lead. It was a great race.
Hope you're enjoying the kart racing action in the APS series from Sydney's Eastern Creek Raceway. We'll take a break on C7, back with more shortly.